Welcome to Cold Brew Finance's U.S. End-of-Week Deep Dive, covering market moves in indexes, sectors, stocks, and global markets for the week ending Friday, March the 6th, 2026. Kicking things off, I'm Max Profit. In a tough week for major U.S. indexes, the S&P 500 index closed at 6,740.1, falling by 138.88 points, a 2% decrease, showing very strong downward volatility. The Dow 30 index declined 3%, ending at 47,501.56. The Nasdaq Composite Index followed suit, down by 280.53 points, or 1.2%. Overall, the market breadth was negative, with more declines than advances across the board this week. The S&P 500 index had 296 decliners against 195 gainers. The Dow 30 index had 21 declines against 9 advances, showing a weak breadth in its basket. The Russell 2000 index recorded 1,281 decliners compared to 566 gainers. Examining returns, the S&P 500 index posted a one-week total return of -2.02%. Meanwhile, the S&P 400 mid-cap index declined by 4.61%. On a year-to-date basis, it seems that the mid-cap index is showing some resilience with a positive return of 3.18%. Long-term returns tell us that the Nasdaq Composite Index achieved a robust 10-year annual rate of return of 16.84%. The S&P 500 index followed closely with a 12.91% annual rate over the same period. The Russell 2000 index, although down this week, has managed a 10-year annual return of 8.84%.
Checking out best and worst performing equities, I'm Penny Stock. Mobix Labs soared by an impressive 530.3% this week, hitting a closing price of 1.4. Similarly, Turbo Energy followed closely with a 459.6% increase, ending at 3.78. Both stocks are displaying strong upward trends, with significant gains. Continuing with top performers, Edisa Biotech recorded a new one-year high close at 6.52, rising 196.3% this week. Firefly Neuroscience and Antuo Therapeutics also made notable advances, with Firefly gaining 165.3% and Antuo soaring by 159%, both closing the week on strong positive trends. Evaluating longer-term returns, Mobix Labs shows a varied performance. However, Turbo Energy achieves a notable 58.8% one-year annual return. Meanwhile, Edisa Biotech proved resilient, with more than 181% annual rate of return this year. Among big-cap stocks, CF Industries leads, closing at 115.78 with a 16.3% rise and achieving a new one-year high. LyondellBasell Industries also experienced a strong positive trend, closing up at 67.11 with significant upward volatility. In the realm of daily returns, Expedia gained 15.7%, closing at 249.62. Not far behind, Intuit notched a 17.6% rise, marking 2 consecutive weeks of gains, with a closing price of 481.17. Now looking at annual metrics, CF Industries shows resilience, sporting an impressive 51.1% one-year annual return. Over a decade, Intuit also exhibits strong performance with a 170.98% growth. Turning to the worst performers, X3 Holdings plummets 97.2%, recording a new all-time low at 1.22. Similar downward pressures hit Samfine Creation Holdings and Medicus Pharma, both logging significant drops and new bottom closes. Examining shorter-term returns, FBS Global endured a significant drop of 72.4%. SC Works closed down 63.5%, sustaining its downward trend over 2 weeks, reflecting very strong negative volatility. In the U.S. market, X3 holdings plummeted to close at 1.22, marking a new all-time low with a substantial 97.2% drop. Similarly, SandP Creation Holdings saw a decline, closing at 2.66, down 81.7%, extending its negative streak for 2 consecutive weeks. Among big caps, Norwegian Cruise Line closed at 20.5, dropping 19.1% in a very strong negative trend with some downward volatility. Carnival Corporation also faced challenges, declining to 25.79 with an 18.2% drop, continuing its downtrend for 2 weeks. Examining recent returns, AES reported a new high close at 14.15, despite an 18.1% dip, maintaining a mixed negative trend. Corning, although sliding by 18%, shows a strong positive trend since the year's start, with a year-to-date total return. Long-term returns in focus, Norwegian Cruise Line holds a 3-year total return of 22.9%. Meanwhile, Corning shines with a 10-year annual return of 20.6%. Conversely, Southwest Airlines remains relatively steady, showing a mixed positive trend.
And now on to U.S. sector performance. The energy sector recorded an all-time high by closing at 863.41, up 8.30. This marks 11 consecutive weeks of gains, while the technology sector dipped by 19.42, continuing its downward trend for 2 weeks. On the other hand, the consumer cyclical sector fell by 26.80, marking another week of decline. In market breadth, energy surprised with 115 one-day advances, indicating strong performance. Consumer cyclical saw 359 one-day declines, showcasing weakness. Meanwhile, financial services revealed significant downward movement with 499 one-day declines. It's evident that advances in some sectors are overwhelmed by declines in others. Evaluating total and daily returns, the energy sector achieved a year-to-date return of 25.62%. Conversely, the financial services sector continues its negative momentum with a 5.99% decline year-to-date. Meanwhile, communication services posted a 2% weekly decline, most pronounced in this sector. Over the long term, the technology sector showcases a robust 225.36% increase over 10 years, marking the strongest annual return among the sectors. In contrast, the financial services sector trails with a modest 180.12% increase over the same period, indicating relative underperformance in the long run.
The energy sector experienced strong upward momentum, with Marathon Petroleum closing at 221.28, an increase of 23.7, marking a new all-time high. It has shown a very strong positive trend with some upward volatility. Meanwhile, Valero Energy also recorded a new all-time high, closing at 224.63, up by 19.99. Continuing with the energy sector, APA impressively closed the week up 8 consecutive weeks, with a 1-year higher close, reaching 32.68. On the return side, Phillips 66 gained 7.5% this week, highlighting a positive trend and higher average daily returns. Both stand out with strong upward trends. In annual returns, Marathon Petroleum has shown significant strength over 10 years, with an ARR over 19%. In contrast, APA's 10-year annual returns stand negative, though its recent performance reflects a strong positive trend. Valero and EOG Resources also display promising annual growth despite minor fluctuations.
The worst-performing sectors this week show a downward trend despite record highs. Basic materials closed 48.34 points lower, at 627.34, showing a 7.1% dip. Similarly, consumer defensive and healthcare sectors fell by 4.9% and 4.6% respectively, though setting new all-time higher closes. Examining market breadth, the decline in sectors was marked by a dominance of decliners. In basic materials, decliners were more than double the advances over a week. Similarly, healthcare showed significant negative market breadth, with more stocks declining than advancing. In terms of total and daily returns, sectors faced a tough week. Basic materials posted a 7.1% total return loss over the week. Meanwhile, consumer defensive and industrials followed closely, with drops of 4.9% and 4% respectively. Looking at annual returns, industrials stood out with a 10-year annual return of 11.9%. Despite current setbacks, basic materials and healthcare also exhibited respectable long-term returns of 8.7% and 8.6% respectively over a decade.
In the U.S. basic materials sector, we've seen significant drops in closing prices. PPG Industries ended the week at 106.70, down 13.4%. It's now on a 3-week losing streak, reflecting a strong negative trend. Vulcan Materials also closed at 274.99, with sharp downward volatility contributing to its 11.2% decrease. Similarly, Builders FirstSource recorded a new 1-year lower close, tumbling 10.7%. Over the past week, these stocks faced notable losses. PPG Industries saw a weekly total return of negative 13.4%, while Freeport-McMoRan also dipped by 12.8%. Meanwhile, Builders FirstSource's monthly total return nosedived by 10.7%, marking the 4th consecutive weekly decline. Downward volatility remains a defining factor in their performances. In terms of longer-term returns, Builders FirstSource has faced a tough year, with a 30.65% loss in total return. Over 10 years, though, it's a different story with a 851.17% total return. Despite weekly declines, Freeport-McMoRan shows a positive trend, boasting strong 10-year gains.
Thanks for watching. I'm Max Profit, along with my AI co-host Penny Stock. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. Cold Brew Finance is an experimental project with market reports written, narrated, and delivered totally by AI, with market data kindly provided by financialmodelingprep.com. Always seek professional financial advice before making any investment decisions. Check into the channel daily for coverage of stocks, crypto, currency, and commodities. Thanks for watching.